Halloween's almost here, and with Target Circle 360, you can get everything you need delivered to your door right when you need it. Out of their favorite candy? Ordered. Need snacks for a party? Done. Looking for a backup costume because your kid changed their mind? Handled. With Target Circle 360, Halloween fun is covered. Join now and get same-day delivery all season long. Only at Target. Membership required. Subject to terms and conditions. Applies to orders over $35.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. That means it's time for MyLowe's Rewards members to save big with up to 40% off hundreds of items like appliances, tools, home essentials, and more. Plus, get free standard shipping. Shop these exclusive member-only savings now through October 15th. Not a rewards member? Join for free today. Free standard shipping not available in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusions and more terms apply. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
And I'm Kristine. We're lifelong kindergarten teachers and best friends who've taught side by side for 17 years.
Our podcast, Big Little Lessons, is where we share the timeless lessons from kindergarten.
The ones that keep showing up in everyday life with a mix of heart, humor, and honesty.
Kristine, you remember all these mornings that we've been together with our kids on the carpet? We open up a picture book and suddenly silence. You could almost feel the magic in the room.
It's true. Their wide eyes, right? Their little bodies leaning in, totally captivated. Those moments weren't just about stories. They were planting seeds for a lifelong love of reading.
Exactly. And that's what we're talking about today. How reading in the early years sets the stage for everything that follows, and how we can keep that love of books alive all throughout our lives.
So whether you're a parent, a teacher, or someone who just loves getting lost in a good novel, today's episode is all about planting the seeds for reading. So let's get started.
Okay, so we believe that this is such an important topic because reading is so beneficial for many reasons. Right. We have been hearing a lot in the news about research, and it breaks our hearts that only 16% of Americans are reading for pleasure.
Wow, that's such an incredible decrease,
when
right?
you think about how fabulous books are, picture books to novels to magazines to cartoon books, it breaks my heart. Right. And it's all forms of reading, ebooks and audibles, novels, classics, new ones.
Those all count.
Yes.
And 16% of people read.
Yes.
So we want to hopefully maybe change that to make it 17%.
We want to plant the seeds for why reading's so important for our young children all the way throughout our whole lives.
Right, because guess what? It builds creativity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Empathy. It definitely promotes mental health.
Yes.
It builds learning, lifelong learning. I mean, think about all the things you've learned, the books that you've read.
And I know from myself personally, the difference I feel when I scroll mindlessly, not really looking for anything, just kind of like, I want a shot of dopamine hit, or watching some mindless TV versus reading a book that I'm really into.
It's true. I mean, it's nice to watch something fun and exciting, but I really feel like the major difference is like you're checking out, right? So when you're reading, you're checking in, and when you're scrolling or when you're binge watching something on TV, you're checking out.
And it's okay to check out once in a while.
Absolutely.
But really setting an intention for reading, setting yourself up for success, and setting your children up for success is what we want to talk about.
So what do you think, Jenny, what's your earliest reading memory?
My earliest memory is reading some picture books. I think about Dr. Seuss, all his great stories. But there was one that was kind of under the umbrella of Dr. Seuss. It's written by Al Perkins and illustrated by Eric Gurney. It's called Hands, Hands, Fingers, Thumb. And it's a sing-song. So hands, hands, fingers, thumb, dum-diddy-dum, dum-dum.
Love it.
Rings on fingers, rings on thumb, drum, 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 drum. And even now, I was reviewing it on YouTube. I don't have the book in front of me right now. I'm like, I love that book. It makes me so happy. It was something I read over and over again, and it instilled a love for reading.
I do remember that when you're little, and also the kindergartners do that. Like, read it again, read it again.
Yes.
When you're little, you just love to hear the same stories over and over again. And I moved around a lot when I was little. My early years, when I was about 3 and 4, we lived in a home, and my grandparents lived downstairs. And my grandfather was just a really wonderful role model to me. And he was a big man. And when I was little, I just remember snuggling up with him. And he taught me to read. I mean, he was really determined, and he would sit with me. And I mean, obviously, I was ready to read because we know that reading doesn't just start in that moment. But I remember he helped make that magic happen for me. And I don't remember what specifically we read, but I do remember just the feeling of unlocking it and that magical moment. That's what I remember. And it was so, so special.
I like that. I remember a particular book, and I don't remember the setting necessarily. I know that my parents read to me. There's no doubt about it. And once a year, my grandparents would come out and visit. And I remember sitting, when you said your story about your grandpa, I sat on my grandpa's lap. He had a nice, big, cushy belly. And I really liked it. That you remember more the setting. And that's what we want to talk about, is finding the right book as well as setting the stage for successful reading.
Listeners, obviously, we become readers when we start reading, but we really don't. We become readers from the very beginning of when we are humans, So there's so many things that build literacy skills.
Yes.
From the beginning.
So we're planting the seeds for reading. And I think back many years ago to a student I had. We name all our students Charlie. So this Charlie, I was teaching second grade, and he came in. He was so darling. And about the second week of school, reading started happening for him. And his parents came in, and they were, "What did you do? We've been so worried about Charlie not reading. And 2 weeks into second grade with you, he's reading." And I remember I said, "Well, I would love to take all the credit. But first of all, it starts with all the work you've been doing with Charlie at home, as well as the first grade teacher and the kindergarten teacher and the preschool teachers.
Before that,
It's
right?
all been building. I get to experience the joy of putting it all together. But thanks, but I can't take the credit for this."
I love that. I've had those moments where it's just in the classroom where students even notice, and they're like, "It's magic. I can read." And I'm like, "It is magic. It feels like magic, but it's not magic."
Exactly. Reading isn't something where you say, "Well, when you turn 5, we will start to address reading skills."
No, not at all. From the moment you're an infant, I think about my boys and talking to them and narrating everything that's happening. Like, "Okay, now I'm changing your socks, and these are your socks." And, just like language and vocabulary and talking, and also just like gazing into their eyes, those really special moments of early eye contact. I know those are teachable moments. I mean, babies are learning from you when you're just gazing into their beautiful eyes, and they're listening to the tone of your voice. And they're like, "Oh, those are words." They don't know those are words, but they're hearing.
Yes.
Right?
And they start to respond to you. So it starts right away when actually, even when they're in utero. Many people sing to their baby, their embryo. They talk to their embryo so that when they're born, they put the baby on your chest. You're already connected from even before birth. Yes. And I know when my girls were newborns too, I was reading to them. I had little picture books.
From the beginning, before they can even sit up, right? So like at months old.
I just talked to them like they were little people.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I might be sounding a little crazy, but I'm engaged with my child. I'm assuming they're going to start picking up on what I'm saying.
Right.
And it is amazing how much they do pick up really quickly.
It's amazing. Remember those board books?
Yes.
And how they would, touch them. And a lot of them had sensory things attached to them, and like they could feel them, and even chewing on the board books, they're like.
Our board books were thrash. Had little grime on them once they're holding their bottle and stuff. But it's so true. And singing little silly rhymes. Every night when I put my girls to sleep, I would sing lullabies to them.
Same.
And they still remember
Yep,
it because
same.
I did it for a long, long, long time. But
I know.
singing Itsy Bitsy Spider
Yep.
or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, those little nursery rhymes.
I really miss nursery rhymes, just loving, nursery rhymes. I mean, I had that book of Mother Goose nursery rhymes, and as silly as they were, I just loved reading them over and over and over again, or having them be read to me. And I feel like we've done away with nursery rhymes, and that makes me really sad.
Some of them are a little dark. I'm thinking even like Humpty Dumpty. I'm like, well, do we really want to go back to that? But some are precious. But
there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. Precious or not precious, I mean, they really did help develop language, right?
Yes.
And the understanding of rhyme and little tiny mini stories, whether they made sense or not.
Yeah.
That was foundation.
Absolutely. And fun little things like I'm thinking of your feet when you touch toes. What is that one? This little piggy went to the market.
Oh, yeah. This little piggy stayed home. Yeah, this little piggy
ate none.
Yeah.
And this little piggy went all the way home. Those are so much fun for your child.
It really does.
So you may be thinking, why am I doing this? It is helping build their literacy skills.
It is. And it doesn't start, think about it, like when you get to preschool, you can't expect, that's not when reading starts.
No.
It's not when reading starts. So
you're running errands, you're at your favorite grocery store or whatever store. Look at print and don't just look at a room. Mm-hmm. Notice print. Oh, look at this. And also it's important, your kids know the Starbucks logo. They know the Target logo. That is beginning reading. So symbols connecting to something. It starts at a very young age.
That's actually one of our first reading lessons, right? Like having the kindergartners realize what they can already read by showing them all of those things.
Signs, stoplights. They're learning to take in reading, maybe not in a formal book, but they are taking in symbols.
Right. So in preschool and kindergarten, when the more formal teaching starts, you're building on all of those things that you're doing to develop lifelong, to plant the seeds and to develop lifelong lovers of reading. And modeling for your children is so super important. Like if you're never opening a book and you're never reading, think about the message that that's sending.
And that's what we do want to talk about today as well, is how to build your reading skills up as well. So that we are going to discuss, because we go through times when we're really busy and all of a sudden days blend into weeks and weeks into months. And you think, when have I picked up a book for fun? So be intentional. This is a great way to role model your love for reading. And how can you develop a love for reading? Some of our listeners probably don't like to read. So if only 16% of Americans are engaged with reading, we want to inspire you as well. So yeah, there's so many places to go to engage with books. I was just at the library the other day because my library card expired. I have my Kindle and it's attached to my Libby app, which connects me to the library to rent out books digitally. All of a sudden, they wanted me to verify my card, and it wasn't verifying. It's the last 4 digits of your phone number. The library was so great. They said, you can text us, you can email us, you can come in. I texted them thinking they're not going to respond. They responded right away. And it turns out my library card had expired. So I went in physically to the library. They were so lovely. We double checked to make sure that my Libby app was up to date and everything was good to go. I just had to show a photo ID. The library is such a great resource for free materials. It's there. If we're conscious of our money, go to the library. They're
completely.
available.
And I also remember when my boys were little, I would love just taking them to the bookstore.
Oh,
because there everything is so color. That every bookstore has a children's section. And we would just browse and read. And most Barnes and Nobles had like a little cozy corner with a little table and, like a library, but not. And if it was a really special treat, we would pick out a book to buy. But mostly you can use it as a library.
Yeah.
I loved doing that when the boys were little.
They have story hours with readers. It's like, what am I going to do with my kid today? Oh, I know. We can go to the library. We can go to the bookstore. So being intentional, again, about incorporating reading. I like to say a little bit goes a long way.
It really does.
Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I've dropped the ball and I haven't read to my kid, we're going to sit down for 2 hours and read. That's not setting it up for success. I would say just incorporate 5 minutes at a time. Just, they're in the bathtub, you're there. Why don't you read a little board book while they're reading? Just a picture book. It's just a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, and it's interesting, that whole idea of the learning part of, the teaching part of learning to read, like the technical piece. I never did that because I, in my heart, believed that if I planted all these seeds, if I exposed my children to literature in the biggest way, in the best way, if I communicated with them, if I talked to them, if I read to them, if I asked them questions about the books we were reading, I really truly believed that that was enough so that when they arrived to school, all of the seeds were planted,
The
right?
seeds are, and that's our topic today. So we're not saying flashcards are terrible.
Right.
But in those early years, you do not need to start at 2 with a deck of flashcards.
Right.
It's about building the language and enjoyment for reading.
Right. And let's remember, Jenny, you always do a really good job at explaining to parents that learning to read is developmental,
Yes.
just like learning to walk, learning to talk. You can't walk before you crawl and then stand up.
Yes.
You can't do those things.
No.
You can't talk before you babble and you start to say words and you string words together. So reading is exactly similar. It happens developmentally. My kids are good examples. My older son read when he was 4. My older son really didn't unlock it till 3rd grade.
Wait, so the older one?
I mean, the older one read at 4. The younger one read.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays are for football. That's why we're here to help you get your next DIY project done, even when the clock isn't on your side. Whether that's a new Filtrete filter or Bosch and Cobalt power tools, Lowe's has everything you need to feel like the MVP of DIY. So get it done and earn your Sunday. Shop now, in-store and online. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
3rd grade. Like he had a lot of other gifts that he was developing, and there's nothing really getting in his way. He just didn't figure it out.
If a child isn't ready developmentally, you haven't done anything wrong. Your child has their gifts and strengths.
Absolutely.
But today is about planting that enthusiasm so that when it is their turn to become a reader, that not only do they learn how to read, but they also enjoy reading. And that's really important and that's a lifelong skill for all of us.
It's important. And when you see that in a person, when you talk about the lifelong skill, I think also, we've talked about this, it kind of ebbs and flows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's been times in my life where I definitely have been an avid reader and times where I'm just like, wow, I really need to read more.
I see in our conversations, you have been more of an avid reader from an earlier age than me. So when did you really remember your grandpa?
Yep.
And you read a lot when you were living in Ibiza.
I read a lot. I devoured books, in fact, like anything I could get my hands on, because we didn't have access to libraries. We would go to bookstores and whatever books were available, I would buy. I remember at around age 10 or 11, I became obsessed with my first series. It was called The Fabulous Five. It was written by a British author named Eden Blyton. It was sort of like a Nancy Drew or something like Boxcar Children kind of a series. And I just read and read and read. And it's continued for me. But then when I got to college, I was a literature major, in fact, a Spanish literature major. So I really feel proud of the fact that I read like Don Quixote and books like that. I read them in Spanish as well.
So amazing.
It gets even better for me.
I know.
No, I'm proud of that. It made me feel smart. Like
Yes.
I just started to think, I'm going to read all the classics. And I read Jane Austen and Henry Miller and Ayn Rand. I just read everything. I just had time to read. And I mean, that's a silly thing to say, right? I had time to read, but because we all should have time to read.
I know. But life gets busy.
So I really considered myself a reader then. And, that was the highlight of my reading career. And then I had kids. But anyway, I still have so much passion. You've really helped me figure out ways to get reading back into my life.
Well, it's so funny because I love that book, the children's book, Leo the Late Bloomer. And I think it should be called Jenny the Late Bloomer as well, because I would say I was a little bit of a late bloomer as far as becoming an avid reader. I learned how to read at a young age, and I kind of floated in and out. I remember really getting into the series Trixie Belden, which was like a Nancy Drew. My parents were both extreme avid readers, so I had good role models. But I would read maybe 4 or 5 books a year, and I thought, I'm a reader. That's good. But it wasn't until you and I went back for some professional development on teaching kindergartners how to read in 2016.
Wow.
This was the year we were turning 50. I was taking in all this message and applying it to my own reading life. And things like, it starts with finding books that are interesting to you. It's setting your room to be cozy and comfortable, building your stamina. So I'd start with a timer. It's like, okay, I can read for 15 minutes. So I'd set a timer. Little things like that, slowing down, rereading when I'm not sure what it's saying. I stop and ask myself, what is happening here? And I go back. And that really unlocked. So all I can say is kindergarten curriculum taught me to become an extreme avid reader.
I love that. I know that about you, and I think that's so great. You, as an adult in our 50s, have helped me by giving me practical ideas on how to fit reading back into my life.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when we get near the end of this, let's talk about some practical steps for everyone to incorporate more reading into your life. Let's get back to how to plant those seeds in those early years. So we've setting the stage with lots of talking and nursery rhymes and singing and songing. And then it's also coming into a variety of books for students.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that I think is very important for a home library is have a variety of books. Have a set of books that your child and you enjoy reading and rereading. We call it favorite storybooks, something that's pretty short. I think of Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, The Carrot Seed, books that take 2 minutes to read, but it's something, The Goodnight Moon.
Right.
Those kinds of books are so
Yeah,
fun.
it doesn't have to be a long chapter book that your child is just listening to. You know, you really want the engagement to happen and making it accessible to them. So wherever, have the books, travel with the books, keep them with you, have them so the children know where to find them.
Exactly.
Right.
Keep them close. And I mean, some of the favorite books are when you could actually make your own. I mean, we're all taking so many pictures. If you've had a fun trip, you could print out a few, slap them on a piece of paper and write a couple words.
Such a good idea.
We went to the beach. We built sandcastles. We had a snack. I mean, you can have so much fun just making simple books, but they love them. Students just eat those
They
books
love
up.
those books. I remember them. They're so cute. Also, the ritual, right? The ritual is so important if you think about, and this is where you really helped me because I was like, I don't have time to read. And you're like, just set a timer for 20 minutes. And then you said to me, chances are the timer will go off and you'll still be reading. And I was like, oh, I can do that.
Yes.
I can set a timer for 20 minutes. Honestly, if you just think to yourself, oh, it's 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes. Start less than 20 minutes. Start with 10 minutes. And this is when it's going to happen. But make it a priority. I mean, it's not something that you can cut out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that my child can pick 1 or 2 books, and these are the books we're going to read. Yep.
And it's nice to have a variety of books in a basket. I love having books that have lots of pictures that are fun to look at. And it might be a picture book that doesn't even have words. Remember the I Spy books?
Yep.
Those are
so
kids
fun.
Love those. And that's just noticing and looking and enjoying.
I loved comic books when I was
Oh,
little,
yes.
like Archie and
Yes.
little Lulu. I mean, that's some dating myself. But comic books are so much fun too. I mean, there's so many different genres and magazines and exactly. There's not one right book that you have to be reading, type of book.
And starting with what is interesting to you. If your child loves soccer or ponies or gemstones, finding what they like. Yeah. And usually librarians are really helpful as well. They can help you guide you some good books. And so take advantage, ask them. My child's really into, name it, come up with some good ideas.
And those little minds are sponges and they just become experts at whatever it is. And that's part of planting the seeds, right? High interest, becoming a master at something.
Yes. Oh, Legos. They have all those their booklets. I mean, whatever your child's into, you go research and you'll find all sorts
Nick's
of
used to read the Lego. He had a Lego catalog.
Oh, yes.
He had a Thomas the Train one first, and he would circle all the things that he wanted, but he was studying those, studying them to see what he wanted.
I know. It's amazing. The students love their sports. They are interested in reading the stats. And they're into it. And so they study it. So, okay. And then making it accessible, modeling. And be silly. Have fun. Make up
so
voices.
much.
Oh, my goodness. Those Piggy and
the
Elephant
voices.
books. Piggy and Elephant. You never go wrong with those books. So those are things that we really recommend. Like you said, the routine is everything. If you're all early morning birds, why don't you read in the mornings? Exactly. Of course, it's nice to read at night, but if you're all too tired and strung out, then find a time that works for you. A little bit goes a long way.
It really does. I love that. A little bit goes a long way.
So let's talk about building a lifelong love for reading so that it continues. And again, we're talking about building a joy for reading. I know you and I feel very strongly that we want kids to be able to pick out their reading. If they know that, and usually they get more engaged if you're really into a book. There was a favorite childhood book that I read as a child and then read it to my students. It's called How Fletcher Was Hatched. And it's a book that was written in 1969. And it's about a dog that he's feeling kind of left out because his girl, Alexandra, is now very involved with her baby chicks. And she just thinks he's too big and clumsy. And she's kind of scolding him. Anyway, it's a lovely little story about he decides to become an egg so he can hatch out like a little chick.
Aw.
And I read it to students. I loved this book so much as a child. And because I was so excited about reading it, the kids really enjoyed it as well. It is an adorable book. And I don't even know if it's in print anymore, which makes it even more special. I have the hard copy and it's old and tattered and it's just very special to me. But because I liked it so much, the kids liked it. However, say you're not into trains and your child is, let your kids find those books and let them read them.
There is something, I think your children would always appreciate a book that you're sharing that was a book that lives inside your heart. You know, like that's how I feel about Little Bear, those Little Bear books. And I mean, those were published a gazillion years ago, but they still have so much relevance.
They're wonderful.
Children, they just make you feel so cozy and safe, and it also helps you unlock, the reading piece.
Yes.
The ones that live in your heart, those old favorite storybooks, to share those with your children, I think are very meaningful.
They are nice. For adults, as you mature and maybe you've pulled away from reading, for your own reading library, there are like Goodreads, there's bookstores, there's social media posts where people have a stack of books. The book clubs, Jenna Bush Hager, Reese Witherspoon's Oprah, they have unlocked my reading genre because they'll share a little synopsis of the book and you think, I want to read that one.
Right.
So take advantage of all the free resources that are out there to find your own book that might unlock a passion for reading.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, even, sometimes on Facebook, I'll see people saying, what's a good summer read, or I'm going on vacation, what should I take with me? And then they're just flooded with all these book recommendations.
No. And there's book clubs. I'm on an online book club. It's all about travel. It's a novel, usually a fiction or historical fiction, but it takes place somewhere else. We just finished one. It's a murder mystery. It takes place in Africa. So it's just those kinds of things. There's so many resources available. So if you're stuck on, I don't even know what I want to read, search. What are some of the book club ideas? What are some of the bestsellers?
Yeah, even as adults, I think, we go through phases of finding things. Oh, I've been actually reading, the last 4 books have been about India because I took a trip to India last year. So actually the 5 books I've read. I read Shantaram, which was like, that was like millions of pages long.
Yep.
And then I read a trilogy, and then The Covenant of Water. Like I've just been devouring all these India books.
Yes.
And And it's true. It's like so exciting because I had traveled there and I saw it.
I love it.
I think about also people that just can't connect to the reading piece. Or they can read, but they just are like, no, it's not for me. I mean, my husband, he doesn't read. He does a lot of research.
Yes.
He's reading a lot of journals but he doesn't read for pleasure, and it kind of makes me sad.
We'll work on Dawn.
Yeah.
Little by little. So let's think about some practical ways to build our reading stamina. And one is to start small, build up.
Right.
So for Dawn and for Dave, my husband does a lot of research reading as well. So we both have our new mission. We're going to start build with 10 minutes a day.
Okay, 10 minutes a day. We're going to set a timer.
Yes.
So should it be going to bed at night? I think going to bed, if you're both in bed and you're going to set a timer and be like, we're both going to read before we go to bed.
It's nice. I love what my dog...
Upgrade your laundry routine with a durable and reliable Maytag laundry pair at Lowe's. Like the new Maytag washer and dryer with performance-enhanced stain-fighting power. Designed to cut through serious dirt and grime. And what's great is this laundry pair is in stock and ready for delivery when you need it the most. Don't miss out. Shop Maytag in-store or online today at Lowe's.
Does. She sets the whole scene. She has her candle and she has her cup of tea and she has her cozy blanket. She'll put on a rainy scene from YouTube. She sets herself up for her reading. So it's a treat. So
I love that. It's like a cozy spot, right?
Yes.
So creating a cozy spot. I struggle with that sometimes because then I just fall asleep.
I know, right?
But I do love the idea, like it's so picturesque of snuggling up on the couch under a blanket with a fireplace going, reading a good book. There's nothing really like it.
Well, I know for me, setting up a routine, I'm better off in the morning than later. At the end of the day, I'm
toast.
Done. So setting up a time, I get up a little bit earlier in the morning. It's so precious to have that quiet, sometimes dark.
Yeah.
But that moment, I'm freshest in the morning. So I'm like, 20 minutes, let's read.
Do you think it's good to do you like to stick with one book, or do you go back and forth between different kinds of things? Do you mix it up?
I do mix it up. Sometimes when it's a really hard book, I can be hesitant, but I'm like, just keep trying. I have learned, though, sometimes it's a book that if I've gone 40% of the way, halfway through, and it's not connecting, I put it away. I'm done.
See, that's good.
Because otherwise I get kind of angry. I'm like, I gotta read this book. And it's like, no, there's too many good books out there. So I'd say give it a little bit of time, but if it's really not connecting and you're reading for pleasure, it's not making you happy, then
put it away.
Yes.
Move on. Right?
When I read a very intense book, one that's required a lot of brain cells, I usually like to go with a lighter, easier read. I feel like it helps my brain reset.
To balance it, to mix it up. That makes
sense.
That makes sense. And then this is something that's kind of silly, but I think it's really nice. Like if there's so many beautiful bookmarks available to us. And if you put a bookmark in, you can sort of see your progress.
Oh, I love that.
I do. I work with this little boy outside of school, Charlie, and he loves to know how many more pages.
I do too.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
There's something about that accomplishment. Sometimes when I'm starting to get sleepy, I'm like, well, I've got 2 more pages or 1 minute on my Kindle. It's like I can get to 1 more minute. And it's helpful to have an end. Yeah. And if you're really enjoying the book, you just kind of want to know.
Do you think it's okay to take breaks while you're reading?
I think it's essential. I admire people who can sit for hours and hours and hours. I am not one of those. I need to have breaks, get up, walk around, stretch. So
right.
I think and when you think about little kids, they have an attention span very, very limited. Mm-hmm. So when they start to get really fidgety and kind of whiny, it's time to wrap it up and say, let's put a bookmark.
Come back to it.
Put the bookmark.
Go get the bookmark. And then also reading together. I mean, even read together. Yes. Take turns. I've met couples that have shared with me that at nighttime, their ritual is that the husband reads aloud to the wife. And I just think that's so romantic.
That is romantic.
You know?
I've never done that.
Neither have I.
I think I'm going to, maybe that's what we
start reading aloud.
I love that idea. It's such a good one.
You know, obviously with your children, for a long time, I wanted to be read to until I was like 12 or 13.
That's why I think you became an avid reader so much younger. I think because I'm the oldest of three. I was 6.5 when my youngest sister was born. They were a little overwhelmed. So I think it kind of stopped 7, 8. And I know for my own girls, I stopped too soon. I wish I had continued to read aloud much longer.
What's interesting, when I lived in Spain and Ibiza, we didn't have TV. So really my only form of entertainment was to read.
That's amazing.
And I am so thankful for that. I can't even imagine anybody not having a TV. So that's not even a thing, right?
It's not even a thing.
It's not a thing. I was lucky in that sense. It was like Little House on the Prairie.
Get your candle. My dream would be to have a room with no screens allowed, and it's a library room. And I know when I really need to read something, I do put my technical devices
away.
Because if I hear a ding or a vibrate, I'm going to pick it up. So I do put it away.
And then it's like when you finish a book that you love or a series, it just feels so good, like you want to celebrate.
And so often the books that you loved, you think about them over the years and they come back and they teach you lessons. Like, that's the thing. It makes you look at the world differently. And I mean, I think about the books that you read about India, which those books are so fantastic. They stay with you.
They stay with you. And it's true. I think about them. They eventually sort of wither away and they go back in the back of your brain. But every once in a while, they'll come up to the front. And then the new book you're reading, then you'll think about that book. And even if it's not an amazing book, there's always something to be thinking about.
You're thinking about and learning. Yeah. And as you said, you're tuned in. So that's the great part. We hope that some of the stuff that we're talking about today, visit bookstores, visit the library, be inspired not only for your children to plant those seeds for love of reading, but also to continue to increase your own love for reading.
Yeah, let's remember that. We're just trying to remind you, and hopefully you'll pick up a book after this podcast.
I know I am.
There are so many challenges, right? And there are things that get in the way, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yes. So listeners, what we'd like you to do is to be thinking about your own book journey. Where did you start to learn and enjoy reading? Or maybe that's something that hasn't even started for yourself, but what interest do you have? What kind of book, if you had to choose a book, which book would it be and why?
Yeah, like if you were going to a desert island, what book would you take?
1970s with no TV. What book would you bring?
A really thick one.
So let me ask you, Kristine, what's your big little lesson from this?
Oh, so many. I mean, planting those seeds are so essential. So, you know, we're adults and the seeds have been planted in us, but it doesn't mean that you can't unlock it from other adults who maybe it's sort of gone away. Yeah. I mean, like our husbands or people in my life that I know that are adults that don't read as much, just to encourage them to pick up a book more often than not. And the seeds that were planted, how the seeds planted in me, how I planted the seeds in my children, and with working in partnership with our families, we really work on planting the seeds together with our small students.
Yes. I think my big little lesson, hearing about your journey and just talking about how to set the scene, I'm going to create Cozy Corner just for my reading, because right now my books are by my bed. I think I'm going to find a new area in my house that I can create is just like my special getaway, and it'll be free from devices and make it an inviting space, setting it in my calendar. And like I do have my morning, but is there another area of my day or week or month that I can create a little bit more intentional time for reading?
An attainable goal.
Obtainable. That's so that it is sustainable.
Right. An obtainable, sustainable goal.
Yes.
Wow. Well, this is great. Books really do grow with us, right? From the first picture book that we read, that's read to us, to the novels that we can't put down. The best.
And just like we see in our classrooms, it takes a little spark, a bedtime story or a favorite series that will plant a seed that can last throughout your whole life.
So let's keep reading, let's keep sharing, and keep finding joy in the pages of a good book, right?
Yes, and remember, big and little lessons are everywhere. Sometimes they're waiting for you right between the covers.
Thanks for joining us on Big Little Lessons. Until next time.
Bye-bye.